After 2 years in the train wreck of WWE 2K20, we have WWE 2K22. Many people like me were skeptical of the game at first, and everybody wants to know the one big question. Is it good? Is it worth the money? I have been playing WWE 2K over the past week, and I've done enough of the game to give my consensus and my thoughts of WWE 2K22. We're going to start off with an immediate positive, and that thing that I want to highlight is the game's presentation. These entrances of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar show alone the detail, the huge attention to detail that WWE 2K22 provides on entrances, because they are just immaculate. They represent the real things very well and get the feeling of it just right. It feels like an actual WWE production all the way. And not only that, but the gameplay itself, it manages to keep that feeling around. The new camera angles and all the little visual things they've done have already made this overall the most visibly appealing game that has taken place in the WWE 2K franchise. That right there is an immediate plus, in my honest opinion. We're given 5 gameplay modes this year, and the one that I first want to talk about is 2K Showcase. I will say this off the bat. If you're a hardcore wrestling fan, this isn't going to be the most appealing mode for you. But with that said, the mode itself actually isn't that bad. And you should at least give it a playthrough, and even if you just do one match. The showcase mode highlights the career of Rey Mysterio this time around, and it takes you through some of his memorable matches with him. The way it takes you through them, with the cutscenes going from the game to actual match, I actually thought was pretty cool. They did a nice job of picking the right scenes to go into the actual match and then to come out. The one thing that I could probably do without, though, is the perspective of Rey Mysterio. As a lot of times when he's talking, it feels generic. It doesn't feel all the way something truly authentic, but I will say what we are given from Rey is good. Now, the objectives itself, I think, were frustrating and repetitive. There are times that the game wants you to take your opponent outside the ring, only to put them back in the ring, only to take them back out, which happens in a couple of matches, which is a little much and unneeded in a lot of cases. And also, some of the objectives do require to have at least somewhat of a decent knowledge of the game, so you can perform off some of the combinations. But overall, I will say it is an improvement over the women's showcase we got from 2K20, and that was, in a lot of ways, a hot mess. But overall, not a bad mode, if I'm being honest. Up next is Universe Mode. Now, Universe Mode has been in the game since SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, and it has had its many ups and downs. Some Universe Modes have been really great and fun to play through. Some have been kind of just there. This year, we do get a new addition with Universe Mode, and that is Superstar Mode, which gives you the ability to play as one single superstar throughout the entire mode, which I like the concept of it, I really do, but I don't like how you basically give up all the other things, the control that you have in the mode. For starters, with this, you cannot watch or simulate any kind of matches. The game does that for you automatically. So, if you want to interfere in a match that you see on the card, or attack someone after a match or something, yeah, that's, from what I've seen, not very much possible. And also this year, we also don't have any promos. Promos have been pretty much cut from the game, so to compromise for that, we get more matches. Like a standard Raw card has 9 matches on it, which is okay, but I don't think I like this compromise. And I also don't think that for some cases, certain storylines, they start at high intensity for almost no reason. For an example, in Superstar Mode, I didn't tape this match, but I played as AJ Styles in the Superstar Mode, and I had a match with Kevin Owens. I beat Kevin Owens fairly easily only to get Finn Balor to try to attack me when I end up giving him a Styles Clash. And then the storyline was set to have very high intensity for, like, what reason at all. The regular universe mode itself, it feels just about the same as 2K20. So there's not much really said to be there. I've heard there are more cutscenes, but there isn't much to be said with this part of the mode. My biggest problem with universe mode, and this has been going on for a few years, at least for me, is that it feels too linear because everything is set to certain storylines, and there are times when we get triple threat or even fatal 4 matches. Like, I think Money in the Bank itself could be a nice storyline that they could contribute into the game, but it's never here. And I do think that universe mode does need a slight revamp, but what we're given here, it works, but I'm not going to say it's super great. From my career to my rise, as this year my career is out, my rise is basically in. My rise in a lot of ways is like my career reimagined, but this time it works differently. For starters, there are 2 separate paths, one for the men and one for the women. But also, the one thing that I will really highlight this year, and I really like this about this year's game, is that in these games, there are choices, and not only are there choices, but you feel in control of the choices that you want to make. You have the option to start different storylines, or straight up not do them. There are also a lot of storylines here given. There's a huge variety, and some of the choices you make affect the actual story. So the freedom and the choice you have, you immediately feel that once you get into the game. And when you create a character, there's 4 different styles that you can choose from, and there are also different areas that you can experience throughout the game, and you get certain storylines that start in those areas. But if I have to be critical here, on a critical perspective, I have to admit, it's pretty easy to level up your character. Almost too easy. Most of my time in my rise has been spent in NXT, and I didn't even complete all the storylines. I completed maybe like 12 or maybe even 16, somewhere between there. And my character is already at 92 overall, without even touching any of the Raw and SmackDown stuff. Not only that, but I also don't like how any of the areas here are a little roamable. I think that would be nice, but instead, for the most part, you get mostly these still images behind these areas. But not only that, but my biggest problem, my biggest gripe with this mode is there are no... the continuity here is dead. It's dead. My time in NXT, I won the North American title, then found myself in the NXT title, so all of a sudden, I'm a double champion, and anytime, unless I defended the title, my character didn't walk out with the belt. Which makes your character almost feel like an afterthought, because your characters that can be double champion in NXT, but somehow neither belts are available. But not only that, but I also find it that you can transfer between both brands without even completing the storylines. Don't get me wrong. The storylines themselves are fun. There is a lot of great storylines that if you play this game, you will enjoy. I really think so. But it's like nothing comes together of this mode. And it is better than the career modes in the other games, especially 2K20's career mode. It's better than that, but is that really saying much, if I'm being honest? Alright, and now it's time to talk about my GM mode. GM mode making its great return to the WWE series after nearly 15 years off of the shelves. So GM mode is here, and honestly, I think I'm probably going to do an entire video on everything that is wrong with this mode, because there sure is a lot of it. From the start, the intro to my GM mode I thought was a good intro. Stephanie Man does a good job to get you interested in the mode, only to crash your hopes down so far from there. To start, when we get to the actual mode selection, in the intro you'll see they hype up all these different GMs, even saying, what kind of general manager will you be? Only to get to the actual mode, and there to be 5 GMs, some of them not even very much featured. from the mode. 6 if you count the custom superstar, but some people don't have a custom superstar, so that option is kind of out the window from the start. Not only that, but the draft selection from there somehow gets worse. Because luckily this didn't happen in the footage that you're about to see, but I've seen in many people's saves that people like Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns aren't even available to be drafted. For some reason, it seems like it's just a lucky draw of who's able to be drafted and who isn't. It seems like it's a lucky draw. It almost seems too unpredictable to choose, which is a problem right there in and of itself. Another problem I have is right after you finish your draft, right when you enter the mode, the first arena that you're doing your game in is a high school gym. Now, when do WWE ever do shows in a high school gym? That's unrealistic on a lot of circumstances and straight up doesn't make any kind of sense. Not only that, but during the AI draft selection, I found the AI to kind of be a little interesting with its choices, but I'm not going to pick on that too much. I'll save that for the video. But overall, just from those things right there, already not a good first impression. But somehow the experience kind of gets a little null. Because you can play through Progressless mode further. There's no triple threat matches that you can book, no fatal four-ways. The match options themselves are very limited. You can have a TLC match, but you can't have a standard ladder match. It's things like this that just doesn't make any sense in this mode. But not only that, but you can also only do tag team matches, but tag team matches, because there's no tag team titles, seem like a complete waste to even do from the get-go. You know, this mode has potential to be a really great mode, but it's missing out on some stuff that's rather basic that most of us would think for a GM mode. You know, games like SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 have done this much better, and that was the first game of the series to have a GM mode. This mode needs some serious improvement if it's going to carry over into 2K games. Now, I'm not going to talk too much on my faction, mainly because, one, I haven't played it a whole lot, so I don't feel like I've played enough to give an honest consensus on it, for one. Two, I also think the mode is one of those modes that it's not for me, and from what I've heard from everyone else, yeah, I feel that exact same way, and plus most people really don't seem to care about this mode, and to me this mode doesn't really make or break the game. So my faction, give it a try, see if you like it or not, but for me it's just, yeah, it's not one of those modes that I think I would see myself playing for a very long period of time. But if I'm being honest, WWE 2K22 is not a terrible game. It's not a bad game. It's not. The gameplay in itself is really good. It's a fun game. You'll have fun playing this game. I can very much say that. As long as you're a wrestling fan, you will have fun with WWE 2K22. But with that said, there are some things to take into consideration with the game. With the fact that a lot of stuff here has potential to be great, but it's not. The My Rise is good, but it could be better. My GM mode is a hot mess. Universe mode is alright. It could be better. But like I said, it's not a bad game. You know, and I think it's definitely a game that you should check out. It's easily one of the better 2K games in the series that we have seen so far. Easily, 100%. One of the better 2K games we've seen in the series so far. But are we really saying much with that statement? A lot of the 2K games have straight up been not very good. You know, 2K15 was a hot mess. 2K16 was okay, and 2K17 felt a little bit the same as 2K16. 2K18 was a hot mess on the Switch. 2K19 was good, and then everybody knows about the train wreck that was WWE 2K20, and we get to 2K22, and it feels like it's another reset period for a company that's already had at least 3 reset periods. But overall, give this game a shot. It's a